Yo, this is me taking a little video diary. Oh, I don't know if this is gonna stay upright. We're gonna have to go sideways. I wish I could sit this somewhere else. Somewhere more convenient for now. Let's do it over here. Hello, girls. This will do. Oh, time for prayer, reflection, resonance with the greater truth, or that which pervades everything, the procreant urge of the earth, of the world, of all that is incarnate. No? Isn't that like the most everlasting truth? Is this like desire, that brings forth stuff, sex, right? This that made us, that why you exist is the desire between your mother and father, or at least your father for your mother, as that is where the seed comes from. The egg receives, right? The egg is the reception, but also the womb is the incubation, the place, the oven. The womb is the place where it all happens, right? Like the woman is the place where it happens. Even though I feel like Shiva Shakti, the Shakti is the like movement and the Shiva is the container, there is an experience in the feminine that is the space holder, that is the space. But in some sense, she decides what is allowed into the space. Like, there is the desire, the action that originates from the masculine, but then there is this calling in of the feminine. Like, where's the camera? Is it here? Is it here? I think it's over here. Like, looking at the wrong corner. So there is this feminine calling in aspect that is impossible to like really do if you're not attuned to what you want to call in. If you're calling in something that's just based on what you think you should be calling in order to be productive, or whatever insert adjective here is to like expectations that we inherit and kind of integrate as our own, we move in certain ways because we think we should, not necessarily because it's our own gut, intuition, heart, soul, desire, unique mission. Like, like I feel like that's been around pop culture, right? Like understanding the mission. I feel like most of us don't really understand the mission. I think the mission is the productivity, the output, accumulation of wealth in the form of stuff, money, stuff and money, or experiences, right? Like I know some folks who have some money that spend it on travel, like unique experiences for themselves. And I can't help but have this desire, this procreant urge for like that experience of those excursions. Like, why do people that might have some money, if they don't have stuff, they travel? It's because they desire this experience of love and like beauty, right? And like there's like obviously this planet has so many really unique, beautiful, magical places that like are wonderful and ceremonial, and it's the mother, it's Gaia, right? It's the goddess Gaia incarnate, and she's many facets that are lovely, and yet there are so many facets like within the humanity that is in our neighborhood, right? And like I desire my procreant urge is for that to be reflected back at me in my neighborhood, and like in this community that like takes care of itself and each other, and is regenerative and like nourishing. Like I have a very deep procreant urge for that to manifest in the world. And I'm less caught up, even though I know I have unique individual traumas like that I must address, and they come out in like these ugly ways of my behaviors, that where I'm not the nicest person, or I'm like a little sassy or like controlling or something. Like at least that's the narrative that has recently come into my awareness. Like I do this chopstick basket job, and Richie's been trying to help me, and like I am not the best teacher because I'm like focused. This is like primetime Christmas. It's not really like I want him to just like kind of take a secondary seat and allow me to like literally dominate the sales space, for him to just like play supporting role. And I feel like he wants to be like sharing this space, and it's doesn't make sense because he's only done it for like 3 days. I've done it for 6 years. So it's just like there's no way that I can be the best teacher to allow him to be as good as me within like a couple hours. And like there's this energy of competition or frustration or conflict that occurs, where it's like these stories of like me being controlling, or because I like come into a sale that he's in communication and like add something to the narrative, and he feels like I cut off his flow and he can't continue. And it's just like that's kind of how I felt in many ways in this relationship, is like when I do, there are times where I have some aspect of my expression that feels offensive to him, and I think I do the same to him. And I think that's part of why I just want to like renegotiate our contract, or like soul's agreement or something, just because like I don't want to continually occupy this experience, because I have a higher mission that I feel like I can't get to, because I have to first meet or resolve these puzzles of my individual lineages of like family trauma that trigger Richie's, like where I just want to like get to work and like feel loved in like my slightly sad, like the ways that like cause this reaction in Richie that feel really hard for me to hold. Like my womb does not want to hold it. Like I do not desire to call in this energy or reflection, right? Like, and I haven't encountered this in other relationships, and the more the point of meeting Richie was I was in a really bad way, and I really was calling in like someone to kind of help me get out of my situation faster, and Richie definitely did that, like but now it's like all these other aspects that are just like feel like symptoms of just like my deepest self was not desirous of this. It was a shorter term self that was desirous of this contract, and I'm unable to uphold this like contract of like the sexual intimacy. Like I am down for us to collaborate in a lot of ways, and like there can still be loving touch and like supportive frequencies. And like I want to redefine in this society what a family looks like and how relationships flow, and how can we be open-hearted and loving in like so many facets and dimensions of experience, and not just this like, you are my boyfriend, girlfriend, we are in love, and like there's kind of this separation or isolation from society. Like I want to integrate the experiences of like passionate love and travel and like gorgeous beauty beyond comprehension of our everyday day-to-day. Like I live in Germantown in Philadelphia, like I see whatever, you know what I mean? Like Mount Airy is beautiful, Wissahickon is beautiful, but there's also like giant waterfalls and jungles and like gorgeous architecture, whatever the fuck, like all over the planet. Put on this weird color lip gloss. And yeah, just calling in that magic of love and travel into all of our relationships and all of our neighborhoods and all of our networks and nodes of humans that we cross paths, share time space with. Like, can we call in some of the like ripping off these shackles of like expectation of what we actually want, and getting into our animal bodies and what do we actually yearn for, and like how do we manifest that like all of the time. For me, it does really start with like breathing. And like for me also, like part of working at the Christmas booth, I've like learned, it's actually quite interesting to reflect on, because I feel like one deep takeaway from like doing this work, especially from pre-pandemic through pandemic to now, like I've had this job for 6 years, I think that I have learned sorry, brain fart. Or if you just meowed, a bell rung, must be noon or something. Hello, Orby. Hi. So what the fuck? Oh, one thing I've learned by working at the chopstick art booth in the middle of the city of Philadelphia, right, during the Christmas season, is how to have a bubble. Like I've learned how to like create like protections around my energetic being, where I am just like exuding the qualities of like, yeah, like my mission for these hours is to encourage people to buy what I know to be one of the most, you know, beautiful ethical gifts. And I'm not trying to do it in a overbearing way, but in this playful way that calls in this divine play, like the Leela, however you say, but like calls in like more of like attuning to that energy of our soul's mission and purpose, and also the healing of the planet, and like seeing that as like what I'm doing. Like these are very functional Johns that help your fruit stay fresh and are beautiful works of art. It's a small ethical business. Like it's a small ethical business. Like Yes, there are definitely artisans in the others' tents that are making beautiful artworks, and they should definitely buy those things. But it's quite a beautiful, ethical, functional gift for a lot of people. Like, better than, like, some materials of fabric and textile that are, like, not ethically sourced. It's really interesting. Like, how do we just make that a baseline of our operations where, like, you don't have to wonder about that, but it's also interesting because it's like below the surface, you know? Like, we vote all the fucking time with wherever we go and how we spend our money, and most of the choices we make are not ethical or responsible or in the highest alignment of finding that loving energy, that compassionate expression of deep love and like the blissful beauty of travel. It's like literally shackles of slavery that we're supporting when we shop at a lot of these places. Do we realize this? I don't think so. Like, there's just this huge gap in experience and separation, this illusion of separation. We all just really need to take some deep breaths and attune to our own frequencies, our own highest selves. Seriously. Like, to release all that is not ours is really way deeper than you think it is when you first hear that, however deep it is, right? Because even what we think is ours is not ours. So really being slow, quiet, calm, centered, allowing that slowness, allowing that spaciousness, like the opposite of the hustle, the opposite of what is the dominant norm. I gotta do XYZ before I could even fathom resting. Like, I'm still acclimating to that. I still have strings of days, if not a week or more, where I don't practice any breathing or yoga. Like, in this past year, there's been moments of, like, in this hustle, the festival work, even the Christmas basket work, like, where I don't have, like, I mean, definitely on, like, Saturdays, and especially when there's trauma and drama and heaviness and weightiness, that's very commonly, constantly experienced. Like, this intimate reflection of separation is like very present always. It feels like Richie and I can't ever deeply rest. We're so tied into the work together, and I've been exposed to like the work in like the capital W sense of like my shadows, like more deeply than ever in this relationship. You know, it hasn't, I have not, I'm grateful for the experience, right? But like, in this moment, I just need to focus on that, like, what is my own truest self, deepest yearning, and how do I incarnate that bliss? And be a fractal, a mirror to reflect that, like, beauty and bliss. And I can't do that if I'm not nourishing myself. And I really have not done a good job of nourishing myself in this lifetime. I mean, like, dear friend, like, I don't reach out enough. Like, I'm very isolated. And I have a story that it's because of this relationship. And I don't think I'm going to fully be able to crack that until there is some release of, like, this sense of experience that like what I do can hurt him, you know? And because I feel like that on like macro and micro levels, whereby I'm not doing what I am called to, or moving in truthful ways, that I am living in this way that I feel like I have a mask over my entire being. Grief. I learned recently that it lives here, and this is also where I carry, you know, where I have a metal rod. Like, I got hit by a car, so like I got a permanent grief scar from getting hit by a car here. Thanks, universe. Yeah. So I'm carrying a lot. And I seek to release it. Thank you. May we all attune to our divine assignments. May we nourish ourselves, feed our souls, our hearts, so that we may ingest it, digest it, transmute the ughs, the yuckies, the sufferings, the hurts that we've experienced. Love them, have compassion for them, instead of repressing them. So we can move through and incarnate as our highest selves and bring heaven on earth.